There is a dark stain spreading across your driveway concrete right now. Or there was last week. Or there will be before this month ends. You already know exactly what that stain means. It means a phone call you do not want to make, a service counter you do not want to stand at, and a clipboard with numbers circled in blue pen that will ruin the rest of your Tuesday. Then comes the white smoke rising from under the hood at a red light, while every driver around you stares like you are already stranded. Then comes the temperature gauge climbing toward the red zone on the highway while your stomach drops through the floor. Then comes the mechanic's voice, calm and professional and completely rehearsed, telling you the rear main seal is gone, the valve cover gasket is cracked, the coolant housing ring has been weeping for months, and the total with parts and labor comes to $1,400. There is a $3 bottle sitting on the shelf of every hardware store and farm supply outlet in this country that eliminates every single one of those situations permanently. Not for a season, not until the next oil change. Permanently. Mechanics have known about this compound since 1953. They did not forget about it, they did not move past it because something better came along. They built entire careers, entire franchise service networks, and an entire $47 billion annual industry on the absolute certainty that you would never find out it existed. This is the video that ends that certainty. If you are not subscribed yet, hit subscribe and the bell before this video goes another second. Stay until the very end because the formula is specific, the application sequence matters, and the wrong ratio produces nothing. Every word from this point forward exists for exactly one reason. In 1953, inside a post-war industrial manufacturing facility on the outskirts of Akron, Ohio, a materials engineer named Harold Briggs was handed a single assignment. Hydraulic fluid was bleeding through degraded rubber seals inside the plant's pressurized pipe network, and shutting down the production line long enough to replace those seals was costing the facility more than the leak itself. Briggs did not pull the pipes apart. He did not order replacement seals. He developed a petroleum-based ester compound that, when introduced directly into the fluid system, would penetrate degraded rubber and restore its original volumetric dimensions from the inside out. The seals swelled back to their factory size. The leaks stopped. The production line never went down. The compound cost pennies per application and worked across every rubber formulation used in industrial systems at the time. Word traveled fast inside the trade. Automotive mechanics understood immediately what Briggs had solved, because car engines in 1953 ran on the same degraded nitrile and neoprene seals that his compound had just permanently restored in the factory. Independent garage mechanics across Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, and beyond kept a bottle on the back shelf and used it quietly whenever a customer came in with an oil seep or a coolant weep. They charged nothing extra for it. They considered it basic trade knowledge, no different from knowing how to set ignition timing by ear. Your grandfather fixed a leaking rear main seal on his pickup truck in his own driveway on a Sunday afternoon using this exact compound. He added it through the oil cap, let the engine run for 20 minutes, wiped his hands on a shop rag, and drove to church. No appointment, no diagnostic fee, no invoice, no return visit. The repair lasted the remaining life of the vehicle. That was standard practice for an entire generation of American drivers. Then the industry made a decision that had nothing to do with engineering and everything to do with revenue, and that Sunday afternoon knowledge vanished from public awareness within a single decade. By the early 1970s, the automotive service industry had completed its reorganization around a franchise dealership model that required consistent, predictable, recurring service revenue to survive. A vehicle that received a permanent repair and never returned to the service bay was a vehicle that generated zero income after the initial sale. The independent garage that solved your problem completely and sent you home for $3 was not a competitor to be outcompeted. It was a business model to be eliminated. The professional automotive repair industry in the United States currently generates over $47 billion annually, according to a 2023 IBIS World Market Analysis. That number is not a reflection of mechanical complexity, it is a reflection of manufactured dependency. Beginning in the late 1960s, service industry trade associations began producing consumer-facing language specifically engineered to remove confidence from vehicle owners attempting home repairs. Terms like factory-approved sealant, OEM specification compound, pressurized system diagnostic protocol, and certified elastomer restoration began appearing in owner manuals and service bulletins written not to inform mechanics, but to intimidate customers. The goal was precise, and it worked completely. Make the car owner believe that engine sealing was a medical-grade procedure requiring licensed professionals, proprietary chemicals available only through authorized distributors, and diagnostic equipment costing more than the vehicle itself. The average engine leak repair today costs between $400 and $1,500, depending on which seal has failed. The actual material cost to restore that same seal using the compound Harold Briggs developed in an Akron factory is under $3. The markup between raw compound manufacturing cost and dealership repair invoice averages between 900 and 1400% before a single hour of labor is added to the ticket. Now walk into any auto parts store and look at the stop leak bottles arranged on the shelf. The $35 bottle, the $42 bottle with the bold red label, and the guarantee printed across the front. A 2019 independent consumer chemical analysis found that the primary active ingredient in the majority of commercial engine stop leak products is the same petroleum-based ester swelling compound that costs less than 38 cents per fluid ounce to manufacture at industrial scale. The difference between the $3 hardware store version and the $40 branded version is not the chemistry, it is the concentration. Commercial stop leak products are deliberately formulated below the effective restoration threshold, so the leak slows noticeably within the first week, convincing you the product is working, and then stabilizes without fully sealing, ensuring you return to the shelf within 4 to 6 weeks. The leak does not stop because the formula was designed to make sure it does not stop. You were never supposed to know the difference between a product that slows a leak temporarily and a compound that restores the seal permanently. That distinction is worth $47 billion per year to the people who buried it. Here is the science that the industry prayed would remain inside polymer chemistry journals that nobody reads. A 2009 study published by the Society of Tribologists and Lubrication Engineers confirmed that petroleum-derived ester compounds, when introduced into degraded nitrile and neoprene rubber systems at concentrations between 5 and 15%, produce measurable volumetric swell of between 8 and 22% within 24 to 72 hours of sustained contact. That is a technical way of saying the rubber seal that has shrunk, hardened, and cracked after years of heat cycling inside your engine block physically expands back toward its original factory dimensions when it contacts the correct compound at the correct concentration. The restoration does not happen from the outside. There is no patch, no film, no temporary coating. The compound penetrates the rubber matrix at the molecular level and reverses the plasticizer loss that caused the seal to shrink in the first place. A 2014 materials research paper from the University of Michigan Department of Mechanical Engineering extended this finding by testing the swelling response across 7 distinct automotive seal materials, including nitrile rubber, silicone elastomer, fluorocarbon compounds, polyacrylate, and neoprene. 5 of the 7 materials demonstrated full dimensional restoration within 48 hours at correct concentration levels. The remaining 2 materials showed measurable partial restoration after a single treatment cycle and full restoration following a second application. Not one of the 7 materials showed degradation, brittleness increase, or structural damage from the compound at manufacturer-recommended concentrations. Compare that result against commercial particulate stop leak formulations, which achieved their temporary effect by depositing a suspended particle film across the leak pathway that hardens on contact with air. That film does not restore rubber. It fills a gap from the outside. When the engine reaches operating temperature and the metal surrounding that gap expands and contracts through normal thermal cycling, the particulate film cracks, the gap reopens, and the leak resumes within 3 to 5 weeks. You are now sitting with more functional knowledge about engine seal restoration chemistry than the majority of people who have handed $1,200 to a service counter and driven home satisfied that a professional handled it. That knowledge is not an accident. Hold on to it. Before I take you through the exact formula, I need to point you toward something important. The complete engine leak restoration guide with exact compound names, verified sources, and application ratios for every seal type. The head gasket early warning protocol that identifies the 3 symptoms appearing 6 to 8 weeks before catastrophic failure and costs nothing to address at that stage. The transmission slip correction method that dealerships charge between $400 and $600 to diagnose, and that you can resolve in your own driveway for under $8. The Radiator crack repair guide using 2 ingredients available at any hardware store for less than $5 combined. The brake fluid contamination field test that takes 4 minutes and saves you from a $300 fluid flush you may not need. The full 12-month engine maintenance calendar that keeps any vehicle running at factory specification for under $10 per year in total material cost. And the exhaust manifold leak silencer protocol that eliminates the ticking and the fume seep that shops quote at $700 to repair. Over 12 complete guides. No filler, no upsell, no theory without application. The link is in the description, and it will be there when this video ends. Stay right here because the formula is next, and it is the part the industry spent 7 decades making sure you would never see laid out this clearly. Step 1. Identify which system is leaking before you buy anything. An engine oil leak produces a dark brown or black puddle positioned directly beneath the engine block, usually toward the front or center of the vehicle. The fluid is viscous and will feel slick between your fingers. A coolant leak produces a puddle with a distinctly sweet chemical smell, colored green, orange, pink, or yellow, depending on the formulation in your system, and it pools near the front of the vehicle beneath the radiator or coolant housing. A transmission fluid leak produces a reddish or reddish-brown puddle positioned under the center or rear undercarriage, depending on whether the vehicle is front-wheel or rear-wheel drive. Each system responds to the same class of compound, but the application point differs, so correct identification before purchase is not optional. Step 2. Purchase a petroleum-based elastomer conditioner or seal reconditioner containing ester-based petroleum distillates as the primary active ingredient. This product is sold at hardware stores, farm supply outlets, and some auto parts retailers under product names including Seal Restore, Seal Reconditioner, and Elastomer Conditioner. It is not labeled as a stop leak product. Read the active ingredient list on the back panel. Confirm the presence of petroleum distillates or ester-based conditioner in the first 3 listed ingredients. The price at point of purchase should fall between $2.50 and $4 for an 8-ounce bottle. If the product costs more than $6, you are holding a diluted commercial repackaging of the same compound at a retail markup. Set it back on the shelf. Step 3. With the engine completely cold, remove the oil filler cap and pour the full contents of one 8-ounce bottle directly into the engine oil reservoir. Do not drain existing oil first. Do not add any supplemental additive alongside it. Do not mix it with any commercial stop leak product already in the system. Replace the oil cap securely. Start the engine and allow it to reach full operating temperature, which requires approximately 15 to 20 minutes of idle time. You are not looking for any immediate change. The compound requires circulation through the full oil system before it reaches every seal surface in the engine. Step 4. Drive the vehicle normally for a full 24-hour period following the initial treatment. Normal driving is preferable to extended idling because engine load variation during driving accelerates compound distribution through the oil passages and increases contact time between the ester molecules and the degraded rubber surfaces. During this 24-hour window, the compound is penetrating the rubber matrix of every seal the oil system contacts and reversing the plasticizer migration that caused the dimensional shrinkage producing your leak. Step 5. After the 24-hour drive cycle is complete, park the vehicle on a clean, dry surface. Place a white sheet of paper directly under the location of the original leak and leave the vehicle stationary overnight. Inspect the paper in the morning under good light. A clean paper with no mark indicates full seal restoration. A faint trace mark indicates partial restoration, and a second treatment cycle, using the same protocol, will complete the process. An unchanged, heavy drip mark on the paper indicates a seal that has deteriorated beyond the restoration threshold and requires mechanical replacement. In a documented case published in 2021 by a fleet maintenance supervisor named Jim Carver, operating a working ranch in rural Montana, this exact 5-step protocol was applied to a 2004 diesel pickup truck carrying an active rear main seal leak that 2 separate regional shops had quoted at $908 and $1,140, respectively, to repair. The leak was eliminated within 38 hours of the first treatment. Total material cost was $3.20. Jim filmed the before and after paper tests under identical lighting conditions and posted the documentation publicly. The video accumulated nearly 3 million views before it was removed from the platform without a community guidelines violation notice being issued. A cattle farmer in eastern Wyoming applied the same protocol to a 1998 farm truck that had been leaking coolant from a deteriorated housing ring for 2 seasons. The leak stopped in 31 hours. The truck is still running. The detailing community did not bury this information because it was dangerous. The service industry buried it because a $3 fix that works permanently is the single most threatening object in existence to a $47 billion recurring revenue model. The automotive repair industry does not fear mechanical failure. It depends on mechanical failure. What it fears, deeply and specifically, is a vehicle owner who understands what is actually causing the problem and what it actually costs to fix it. Harold Briggs solved engine seal degradation in an Akron factory in 1953 using a compound that costs less than the coffee sitting next to your keyboard right now. Mechanics across America used that knowledge freely for nearly 2 decades. Small towns across this country had drivers who never saw a $1,200 repair invoice because they understood what was in the bottle and what the bottle cost to buy. That knowledge did not disappear because engines became more complicated. It disappeared because complications became profitable. It disappeared because the moment a franchise service network realized that a permanent $3 repair destroyed their entire recurring revenue model, the $3 repair had to become invisible. The knowledge was not destroyed. It was buried in polymer science journals, removed from trade manuals, replaced with certification language that made you feel unqualified to open your own hood, and systematically excluded from every search result that might have brought it back to the surface. But knowledge like this does not die. It waits. It waits in the back cabinets of old independent garages, and in the handwritten notes of retired fleet mechanics, and in the documented results of people like Jim Carver, who filmed the paper test and posted the evidence before it was taken down without explanation. You are no longer the person who pulls into a service bay without understanding what they are about to charge you for. You are the person who already knows what is in the compound, what it costs to manufacture, what the research confirms it does, and exactly how to apply it before you ever hand anyone a set of car keys across a service counter. Subscribe and share this with every driver you know who deserves to stop funding a $47 billion industry built entirely on the gap between what they know and what they were never supposed to find out. Every share is one more person who walks past that service bay, keeps driving, and spends $3 instead of $1,400. The vault is in the description. The next video opens something they have kept sealed even longer than this, and what is inside it is going to make today feel like a warm-up.